there we go. I forgot to click the button. Feels like I'm a little bit out of practice. Hope you're doing well. Hope you are having a great weekend. Well, I am absolutely knackered, but feel very, very stuffed after this Christmas period. We've had a lot of great vegetables, great family round. It's been an absolute pleasure. But the highlight, of course, is this Sunday evening when I get to spend the Sunday, this hour and a half with you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you've also had some great Christmas. Now, today, the main topic that we're going to be talking about is what have you learned about your garden or your allotment in 2024? But we're going to have a few side subjects as we go along. In particular, I want to find out what Christmas presents or gardening Christmas presents you have received. Before we get into that, over on Instagram, our Plant Stories podcast has joined and Team Amarat has also joined. Let's have a look on Facebook, but on YouTube, sorry, Banny Cillian is there saying good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Kate is there saying good evening, Veg Army. Good evening to you. Scott from Seed to Table Plot 13. Good evening all. Hope everyone had a lovely Christmas. Nathan, Allotted Chef, is also there saying good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Turbo Stream. Good evening, Veg Podcasters. Hope your Christmas went well. Stuart Jackson, evening, Richard and Veg Army. Hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas. Anna Jones, good evening, gardeners. Good evening to you. Digwell, hi all. That's a very short little message or opening message from him. Normally we get some culture from him. Kate says, honestly, I just want a salad now. I know how you feel. I've eaten so much. I've had about 4 Christmas dinners, it feels like, this week. I've had 4 basically Christmas days because my family's so spread out. We had Amanda's family round on Christmas Day. Boxing Day, we went round theirs. Amanda also went round to mum's and saw other members of her families yesterday. And then today we have my family round. I have cooked so much since I last spoke to you. Turkey, lamb, gammon, you name it. I feel like I've cooked it. But it's also worthwhile. It has been also worthwhile. I've got to say, it's been lovely. Absolutely lovely seeing friends and family at this time of year. Over on Instagram, Phoenix Biochar CIC has joined and Andy Moore 121 joined. Now, Digwell says, sorry, madly putting a salad together just for the end of the show. Just peeled the eggs. I'll let you off then. Let you off. Nice salad would just go down well, wouldn't it, right now? So, have you learned anything from this year? Have you learned anything about your garden or your allotment in 2024? I certainly feel that 2024 has been a challenging year. When it comes to the end of the year, I think it's a good chance to sort of sit back and reflect on what has worked and what hasn't worked. Just going to put my phone on silence. It has certainly been a challenging year in the garden. We've had a mild winter last year, which has left a load of slugs and snails in our soil that didn't get killed off. And then we've had a very mild spring, a very wet spring as well. And in fact, even the summer. And there's been a lot of pests that have came along with it. Normally, I don't get any problems with pests. This year, however, slugs and snails, what were the compost flies and many other flies have just caused so many problems for me. It's a learning curve, and I'm kind of glad because it's given me the chance to learn a lot about how to deal with these things. In the kitchen and garden with Tracy says, just ate a leftover Texas Roadhouse salad. What's a Texas Roadhouse salad? I've got to ask. That sounds delicious. Like Rebecca has joined. Good evening. Hope we all had a great Xmas. Indeed, it has been good. And yes, this year, says in the kitchen with Tracy, I only got a small harvest on onions. Onions haven't been too bad for me here, but I think they could have been better. Again, this year, I feel it has been very much a case of we've got to try and take what we can and make the most out of it. But what worries me, certainly here in the UK, with how mild this winter has been, we've not really had much of a frost, no real cold weather. Our heating's been barely on, and we haven't even got the fires going. But it's been pretty mild here that I think we're in for more slugs and snail problems next year. So I'm already starting to think, how can we deal with that? Over on Instagram, Jenny Rennie in the garden. Hello, everyone. I hope you are well and enjoyed your Christmas / festive season. On reflection, never enough coffee on the pot. That's true, isn't it? Never enough coffee on the pot. On the plot, sorry. Yeah, you always need more coffee. Tracy says the restaurant Texas Roadhouse. Apologies, I'm not familiar with that restaurant. We don't have them here in the UK. So, but tell me what's in it, I guess. Turbo Stream, I learned that my plot is totally saturated again and that trying to grow things over winter is a waste of time and money. See, I think you've got your thinking a bit wrong there, Turbo Stream. I'm going to be honest with you. What you're saying is that your plot is saturated, so you've got to constantly work at improving the drainage so that you can get better drainage, less saturated, so you can grow things over winter. Obviously, don't try it just yet, but just trying to improve the drainage is what you need to think about. That's how I look at it. Anne says, I learned that local badgers are like carrots. Interesting. I guess they would. I mean, badgers do pretty much eat anything, including worms that they suck out the ground. But yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Rebecca says it's getting very cold over the New Year period. Yeah, I have. I mean, certainly today it feels like it has got cold, but it feels a little bit late, and unless it does stay cold for a foreseeable few weeks, I just don't think it's going to kill off all those slugs and snails that are in the ground. I mean, I don't want anything to die, but natural means is the way for me. So I'll be very interested on how the slug and snail population. That being said, the bird population is still quite high. Even today, when I got up this morning to let Roxy out, there was lots of seagulls, lots of thrushes, all flying around the garden and making lots of noise and what have you. So although the slug and snail population is high, the birds population is high, and that might work in our favour. And I've been saying all year that it seems like the bird population has certainly got more and more. I think that's carrying on this winter. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that themselves. So yeah, I have learned for me that the mild weather we have had has caused an increase in pests, but we've taken ways of dealing with things. As you know, I don't like to kill anything, and I think I just said that just now. I don't like to kill anything. I don't like to use poisons. I like to use organic as much as possible. Organic, of course, being a bit of a buzzword, I guess you could say. But for me, it boils down to what I've called my style of gardening: SNAP, simple, natural, and productive. And natural for me is encouraging those birds in to take care of the pests, and things like grazers that we can spray onto many of our plants. That helps keep the pests away, and many other ones as well. Scott says, I learned again just to take the little wins, but I'm missing a good squash pumpkin harvest this year. I'm with you on that, actually. We didn't get any squashes or any pumpkins this year, apart from cucumbers. The early cucumbers did do quite well, but I've learned from that. And what I've learned is that I'm going to make several sowings next year, successional sowings, so that I can hopefully try and get some that are large enough to avoid the slugs and snails eating them. So I might have to do an earlier sowing of pumpkins, for example, maybe towards middle of March, and another sowing in the middle of May, in order to try and ensure I can get the squashes and pumpkins. Turbo Stream says, my plot is halfway down the hill, so will be subject to rain. I have added loads and loads of compost, leaf mold, and leaves over the year. I know you have. And no dig. It's made no difference to the drainage. So what we might be thinking of doing then, Turbo Stream, is putting something like French drains in, which just help keep the water drained off. I think they're called French drains. Or ditches around your beds to try and keep some of that water off as well. Lots of different ideas. What you're doing at the moment isn't working, so perhaps we need to look at something else. Of course, you can tell me to shut up all you like. I'm just throwing ideas out there for you. Rob has joined. Good evening, all. Hope you've all had a good Christmas. Good evening, Rob. Turbo Stream says, easy to say improved drainage, but the rain has been so bad, the Environment Agency want to spend 35 million on flood defences down the road for me. Okay, yeah, okay. As I said, you can tell me to shut up all you like. I'm trying to put a positive spin on things. One of the things I felt that I've done a lot this year personally, because it has been a bad year, is I've done a lot of, I feel, negative. And I'm trying to turn that negativity into positive and what we can learn from it, so that things like drainage, how can we improve our drainage? Pests, how can we improve our dealings with pests? That's what I'm trying to be a bit more positive. No such thing as can't do. It's a case of finding out how to do. Scott says, I also learned that dragon's egg cucumbers are prolific. They really are. Definitely growing again next year. Those dragon egg cucumbers were absolutely lovely, weren't they? Really nice tasting, white, really prolific. We got lots and lots of cucumbers out of them, and I really, really did enjoy them. Digger says, I find that slugs and snails do not eat squash, pumpkin plants, etc., as the leaves are too prickly. I agree when they're big. It's when they're young that the problem comes in, again, based on what I've seen. So it may be that we have to get our young plants a bit more protected before they're big enough that the leaves are too prickly. This is what I mean. This is why I feel that reflecting on what we've learned this year gives us a few more ways of looking at things. Rob says a bit blurred. Who's a bit blurred? Is that me, or have you been on the alcohol? Turbo Student says, once the soil has drained, I will loosen the soil a bit, but it's very compacted now. That happens when it gets wet. Especially on a clay soil. I know you're on a clay soil like myself, so it is difficult when it gets wet. It does become a problem. Tracy says, amen, brother. Indeed. Digwell, Richard, shut up. Oh my God, that felt good. I told you, feel free to tell me to shut up. Turbo Stream, okay, Richard, shut up. Well, you did say to. Yeah. Tracy says, positive reinforcement is best. I feel the same. Let me move a bit closer. I'm blurred. On my screen, I look absolutely fine. Yeah, I agree. Positive, trying to be positive, trying to turn this all into a positive way forward is what I feel is very important. It's all very easy to be negative, but we need to turn it into a positive. We really, really do. The video goes blurred now and then. According to my screen, I'm crystal clear, so I don't know what's going on. It may be the internet. I've got no warnings about it. So Stuart says, I feel the lack of insects in the wet spring didn't help with our growing season. Again, I agree with that. This is certainly with the fruiting plants, because it was a wet spring, the bees, weren't out as much. And that did reduce the amount of pollination that we have. However, we can learn from that. This is my point. We can learn from that. If it's another wet spring next year, we have to go out with our paintbrush and act like a bee ourselves and try and pollinate them ourselves. Just odd little things we need to think about that we can learn from. Digwell says 2024 was the year that I realized grazers is crap on young plants. I didn't find that myself, but yeah, I take you. I can't disagree with that. Turbo Stream says our recent autumns do seem to be exceptionally wet the last few years. Yeah, I don't know why. I have heard many reasons that there is various things going on with our climate. I don't know. I'm no scientist. It is what it is. We just make the most of what we have. Da, 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 da. Rob says, can't see the notes you pot up. Okay, that's nothing to do with me. That's something else going on then. Okay, I'm just looking on another screen. They are looking a little bit blurred, aren't they? I see you clear, but maybe a certain area. I don't know. Not just you, blurred. The comment text at the bottom goes the same time. Signal issue. That would be not my internet, then it would be from StreamYard to all the various things. So there's something going on. I can't do anything about it. We'll just move on. Over on Instagram, the Scottish guy that treads has joined, and Leo and Blake Living has joined. Welcome along, guys. Lovely to see you. Turbo Stream says, I did learn that a ring of bramble stalk will repel slugs if you circle a plant. It actually works better than you think. Yeah, I mean, that's another good way of dealing with slugs and snails. And if it works for you, fantastic. These are all the tips that I think this live show is great for, that we all get these little tips, these little bits of experience that we can share with each other in order to try and help each other out, because those tips make it worthwhile. Nathan says, I've learned this year not to get downhearted when things fail. Again, I'm with you on that. I've always used when things go wrong to be a bit of a learning curve. If we always had everything that works perfectly fine first time and there's never any problem, then we don't really learn from it. But when things do fail, it's a learning curve. We get to learn that we need to change things left, right, or center in order to get where we want to be. And I think that is the real advantage to having a bad season. I've learned a lot. I really have learned a lot. I've learned that, my soil being a clay soil, we need to really improve the soil in order to make it less clayey, less what's the word I'm looking for, waterlogged. And that's fine. It's producing a lot of compost. That can be the problem. We're getting there. We are getting there. But these are all swings and roundabouts we have to learn. I've learned that a mild spring, I've learned how to deal with slugs and snails and things like that. Scott says, I've learned that I always sow too early and plant out too early. Then the plants get popped back and stunted. So next year will be successional sowing next year and hold back a bit. So successional sowing is something I have actually spoken about. And it's definitely something that is very important if you want to grow food all year round, in my opinion. I'm actually going to be doing a blog post on this very subject in the next week, because I think successional sowing is so important. So keep your eye on the website for that. But yeah, I think I spoke about this a few weeks ago, and I sort of said every week I'll sow radishes, for example, every 3 weeks lettuce, every month peas, and it kind of works. It does kind of work. You've just got to try and figure out how to find the space and get it into a routine. One of the biggest problems I have, or many people have, particularly with square foot gardening, is being so well organized that you have the plants ready to go back in as soon as the bed is empty. Jenny Wren in the Garden says, I love successional sowing and flowers and veg. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Nicola has joined. She says, sorry I'm late. Lovely to see you, Nicola. Hope you've had a good Christmas. But she's got issues with the internet. Keeps buffering. I may leave if it doesn't settle down. Few people reporting that. Try on Facebook. Tell me if it's any better over on Facebook. Let's see if any, if it's any better on Facebook or on Instagram, that might be better. Rob says, I have to have everything planted out by mid-May as we go on a holiday in June for 4 weeks. I mean, these are all the things that makes everybody's garden different. this is why people that tell you have to plant your plants at this certain time may not actually be planted in your garden. We all have to learn how to garden our own gardens in our own way. So, yeah, you go on holiday for 4 weeks, you need everything planted out. I try and do everything beforehand. Jenny says Instagram is good, so hopefully everything's readable over on Instagram. Turbo Stream says, I learned to know. I learned not to sow as early as you end up resowing anyway. So from now on, I won't sow anything before mid-April. Again, I think that does, my opinion, it does depend on what you are growing, of course. For example, potatoes. I get my potatoes in mid-March. Mid-April is still possible. Actually, that's a bad example. I'm trying to think of something that chilies, sowing chilies before mid-April. Well, you can do it, but I would say they're not going to get a long growing season. That chilies, aubergines as well. They really, really need. Stuart finds it okay on YouTube. And Nicola, I've had issues for a few days now, so maybe something going on there. Tapestream says, I learned that sowing onions on Boxing Day doesn't work for me neither, as an April sowing in my cold frame always seems to work. That's interesting, actually, Tapestream. That's very interesting, because I sowed some onions on Boxing Day, as I always do. And at this time of year, many of us are sowing our main crop onions, especially exhibition growers. I would have thought that sowing in April was too late. But if it works for you, again, what I said earlier, if it works for you, then don't diss it. If it works for you, you carry on and do that. Rob says I sowed my main onions yesterday. Yeah, I'm trying to do some on almost a daily basis at the moment. So I do like our onions. Buddy Seaton says, finished sowing my onions today, Rob. How many different varieties of onions have you sown? One of the things that I've learned over this last year as well, which more applies to my allotment, is how much having bad neighbours actually affects our allotment. As you know, the top of my allotment has always been a little bit tricky to keep clear. This is where I have currant bushes, but it adjoins with our neighbouring allotment holder. And in the past, they've been down there. I would say last year they weren't very good at keeping on top of it, but they were there and it wasn't as bad. But this year they've not visited their allotment at all. And the allotment has just been full and full of weeds, which of course has came into mine. It's been really, really tricky to really tackle, really try and tackle that area and keep it tidy, keep the weeds down. Luckily, those allotments, I say luckily, I don't like it, but I think it's important. They have been kicked off their allotment now, so hopefully the new owners are going to keep on top of it. Left behind 2 greenhouses, believe it or not. What I've learned is that they have been a real problem, and it's led to some of the other problems that I've had. As you know, I had my raised beds stolen. I got them back, but they were stolen. And the belief is because their plot was so unlooked after, they thought it was mine as well. They thought they were part of the same plot. Need to put a proper barrier between the two, I guess. And then also the kitchen knives that we found on my allotment, 4 of them in the end, that were hidden on the allotment. Again, this is due to neighbours not looking after the allotment as well as I would hope. Right, what have we got? Oh, crikey, right. Digwell says, onion sowing next week for me. Greenhouse needs clearing first. Digwell then says, different onions, different times of the year, e.g. Japanese ones sow in November. I agree. I mean, some of mine were sowing in August, believe it or not, but we're sowing more and more at this time of year in order to get them ready. I'm probably going to, I'm going to try and do my pickled onions again this year, which will probably won't sow until April, actually, thinking about it. So, yeah, I want to do pickled onions this year. Rob says, I'm grown Red Baron and Bedfordshire Champion, both of which are exhibition varieties, I believe. What have we got? Red Flash for me, says Digwell. And Turbo Stream says, it's important to learn that we are all in different areas, so what works in the south doesn't always work in the Midlands. Yeah, we all find our way of growing it in our area. Oh, again, I agree. We all do, and it's something I've said a lot. But at the same time, we can learn from others in different areas of what might work on our own plots. And sometimes something I want to do in 2025, I'm going to throw this open to everybody. I want to do more experiments. We've done quite a few experiments over the year, but I want to hear from you guys and from listeners on experiments that I can do throughout 2025. Not heard of that one. Ballysin says, I like to sow a few seeds early just to check they are viable for when I do my main sowings. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thrown a few in, see how they get on, and then you haven't wasted anything. Chili Kate's joined. Hi, everyone. Sorry I'm late. Hope everyone had a great Christmas. I've learned to be a bit more organised with successional growing. This is interesting. Successional growing is something that seems to be popping up quite a lot tonight. I think it definitely is paying off. Definitely is paying off, this successional growing. So perhaps that's something we should concentrate a little bit more on. Boxing Day onions, I have nowhere to grow them on anyway. Yeah. What have we got? Elisa Craig, Bedfordshire Champion, Sturian and Red Baron, said Ballysillian. I've sown some Sturian, actually. It was one I have sown. Not growing for size. Thomas Stream says, I learned that red onions will rot in a wet season. Interesting. Nicholas says, I have chilies and peppers going with grow lights and heat, possibly not under the bed this year. You know what? This is one of the things that I love, is how we find out how different people start seeds off and where you grow them. So Nicola last year had hers growing underneath her bed, which also the heat helped to keep her bed warm. Rob, I believe, uses the loft as well to start seeds off. All of great ideas. Currently, mine are in the kitchen. I used to have a dedicated half greenhouse, half shed thing, which I don't have anymore because it fell apart, but I really have got to get another one because it was really, really good and kept the wife happier as well. What Rob says, we'll be interested to see how they do. Never heard of that with red onions. Digwell says, Kelsey, Elisa Craig, Red Brunswick, to name a few more, I'm growing. Excellent. Turbo Stream says, I think 2025 I will concentrate on growing the basic crops well and in more quantity. Again, I like that, actually, Turbo Stream. Grow what you eat. Don't grow what you don't eat. Grow what you eat and concentrate on growing enough of that to feed yourself. My advice, anyway. Tracy says, I'm in Ohio, US. It's 1:30 p.m. here. What time is it there? In the UK, it's 6:30. So we're about 5 hours ahead of you. Rob says, I'm doing Pete Truenhouse Onion Challenge, though, and they are for size. Interesting. Actually, we are going to do the Veg Grower Alternative show. We meant to do it 2024. Time got on top of me. We're going to plan it early this year. We're going to plan it in January and launch everything ready for October for the Alternative Veg Grower show. Digwell says, you don't grow on onions. Leave them pot bound in the cells for 3 or 4 months if needed. No harm done. They adapt. Do it every year. I actually potted mine into root trainers yesterday, funnily enough, just to give them a bit more room because they didn't look like they were growing very much. But yeah, I know Charles Dowding says you only pot plants on when they've run out of compost. I don't know what people think on that, but that's his advice. My red onions were rotting on the insides. Just cut the last one today. Looked okay and was firm to touch. Did they bolt at all? Did they bolt? Did they pot up a flower spike? Nicholas says, I'm not sowing anything until not sowing anything until the heating grant is finished. It's been a nightmare, not coming back till 6 of the 1st. Kate says, I've done the Italian flat onions from my She Grows advent calendar. Great advent calendar that was. I'd like to see how those Italian flat onions do work out. Now, I think we're going to cut to a video that has been sent in this week. And as Turbo has been talking a lot about his plot, he's put together a lovely little photo montage of his allotment throughout the year. Let's get to that. Wasn't that just fantastic? Thanks so much, Turbo Stream. This is what I've said that, and I didn't do this myself, admittedly, but one of the things I'm going to do throughout 2025, and I encourage you to do this same. Some of you have actually done it. Actually, Digwell and Chili's are two people that spring to mind. But every first of the month, just take a photo of your plot. Just stand in the same place, take a photo of your plot, and then pull it together at the end of the year to make a montage. That was what my idea was. I actually tried going through the group to find them this evening and try and put them together. I didn't have time to finish it off, unfortunately. But hopefully I'll try and get some of those done for next week. But that is why I say it's worth taking photos of your allotment, of your vegetable garden, right throughout the year, so you can see what you started with and what it ended up to and what you're left with. Just a bit of encouragement, I think, that we all need sometimes. Thanks so much, Turbo Stream. I thought that was actually quite encouraging how much you've grown. Nicholas says, I remember the wee problem you were facing, Richard, when I visited your plot. It got so much worse than my neighbours. It's a shame because they were a lovely couple and their kids were lovely as well. But hey ho, hey ho. Turbo Stream says, I learned a few seasons ago that onions bulb after the longest day, so I can't see the point of sowing in December. That's not strictly true. again, what I would say is definitely the exhibition growers will sow theirs on Christmas Day, Boxing Day. So there's got to be some sort of truth in it to grow the biggest bulbs. Digwell says, same as my leeks, they sit in the same tray for 3 months before planting out, just using all that soil up before they go out. I'm going to try growing leeks in pots at home this year. Good idea. I do like a good leek. We had some lovely cheesy leeks that we harvested from the allotment and had on our Christmas dinner table. Absolutely lovely. And our guests absolutely loved it as well. Makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it? Nicholas says the bed frame shouldn't be taken, even so, unless committee authorised or the plot holder gave. Which obviously, talking about my beds that got stolen, it's the whole thing. I spoke to the allotments, the people, when they dealt with it. Maybe this year I've finally managed to grow leeks and celery. Kate, fingers crossed for you. I do send both of those seeds out in the supporters club, so follow along with that. Chili Cake says, great montage. Looking forward to getting my end of December plot shot and potting them all together. Please do, Chili Cake. I'm looking forward to seeing it, actually. And I'd love to see it. Love to see it. What have we got? Anna Jones, beautiful lupins. What a kept plot. Digwell, nice one, Turbo. And here's me thinking you could not grow stuff. Jenny Red on the Garden on Instagram also says, great video. Scott says, brilliant montage. Rebecca, that is so inspiring. I'm doing that this year on the plot. Exactly. Thank you. Turbo Stream, see what you have done. You've actually inspired everyone to do this. Fantastic, fantastic. Rob says, to grow big onions, you need to sow early. The more leaves they have, the bigger the onion. Exactly. Turbo Stream, thanks everyone. I did get some decent crops and my freezer is well stocked. Was pleased with it considering the rain. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Digwas is correct to say that some of the onion bulbs bulb up after June the 21st. Absolutely. Again, too right. Yeah, Rob. Yeah. So what's interesting, I'm hearing from you all, you're starting to think about things that you want to have a success with growing this year. Onions, leeks, celery. And I think I said a couple of weeks ago that the one thing I'm going to try growing in 2025 that I've never grown before was cardoons. And I'm looking forward to giving those a try. We've got globe artichokes. Not a fan of globe artichokes. But we are sending some globe artichoke seeds out, funnily enough. I'm not a fan of them, but we'll give them a try as well. I'm trying to think of something that I've always struggled to grow. That swede. We've got some half decent swede this year, but I think next year we can try and get even better if we do it right. So swede is probably the one thing that I think we could do better. When I say half decent swede, we got bulbs sort of the size of large beetroot, I guess you could say, not the big swedes that you buy from the supermarket, which would be good to get. That's my sort of 2 pence worth and something I guess I would like to try and grow. That and Cape gooseberries, which I've grown before quite successfully. They're my wife's favourite fruit that when I've grown them in the past. They were pretty easy to grow. I don't know why I've not tried growing them again for some reason. I just haven't got round to it. Time got in the way. Turbo Storm says the slugs got my celery this year. We'll try again in 2025. I'm just thinking out loud here, Turbo Stream, and but with your clay soil and how wet your garden or your clay soil is, celery should, in theory, do quite well. Just depends on those slugs, those damn pesky slugs. One vegetable that was a bit of a failure this year, actually, celeriac. Now, we got celeriac grown from seed. We had it in the allotment. It was grown really, really well till probably midsummer, maybe before that, when it bolted. It must have got too hot and too dry, and it ended up that our celeriac bolted, and the bulbs, not really bulbs, I can't think of what to call them. The celeriac itself just didn't really produce anything. So That was a little bit annoying. One thing I seem to be good at is getting cauliflower to grow. Excellent, excellent, Turbo Stream. Anybody else? I tell you what, let's spin this on a positive. What has been a real success for you this year? What has been a real success for you this year? For me, cucumbers, particularly the Dragon's Egg cucumbers, they did really, really well. We got lots of cucumbers, lots of really nice, crisp tasting cucumbers that tasted absolutely delicious, and really, really enjoyed eating them and growing them. And I'm definitely going to be growing more Dragon's Egg, more cucumbers. I like different types of cucumbers as well, but the Dragon's Egg just have to have something a little bit different. But we want more. We want more next year. We're going to try and grow £8,000 worth of food in 2025. £8,000 worth in my garden and my allotment. Can it be done? I reckon it can. Scott says, I want to grow fennel. I had a huge success one year. I think everything just lined up perfectly. Pure luck, as it normally bolts. We find with fennel, I grew fennel. I left it in the ground because I don't really like it. Aniseed. Aniseed is one of my hated things because of too much sambuca in my younger days. So we don't grow fennel. I left it in the ground and it came back the following year. That's just an idea I'm going to throw out there. It can almost be grown as a perennial. Tracy says pickling cukes and tomatoes and peppers were a success. Excellent. Chili cake, best successes were chilies, aubergines, and cucumbers. I have to admit, I think you were the envy of everybody with those aubergines this year. I think you summarized it best. South-facing wall produced the best aubergines and chilies. So I've taken that on board, and I've learned a lot from what you did there, Chili, for those aubergines. Nick's Garden Journal has joined over on Instagram, and Digwell says Tromboncino, 6 from one plant in a straw bale, all over 1 meter long. Talking of straw bale gardening, Digwell, because that looked to me like quite a good success for you, and I did it a couple of years ago. It wasn't so much a success except for the amount of compost that we got from it. But I'm going to try again this year. What was it you used to condition your straw bales? What particular product did you use to condition your straw bales? Scott says success: Dragon's Egg, peas, soft fruit, and potatoes. Excellent. Turbo Stream success was soft fruit, blackcurrant, red currant, and gooseberries. My raspberries failed though. I don't know why, but seems a lot of people getting successful strawberry, successful soft fruit. Rebecca says tumbling toms never let me down. Hundreds of tomatoes and easy to grow. Definitely grown tumbling toms this year. Chilies were awesome this year, even though the weather was not ideal. Again, that's great. Also did well with beans. The butternut squash rotted in the September rains. With you on that, yeah. White Knight aubergines, also a success. Interesting. Very interesting. Hoping to plant chilies and aubergines tonight. Chili field dependent. I've done mine actually. Got my aubergines and my chilies in the heated propagator. Some of our chilies actually need potting up quite soon. Nicholas says, look, lovely look at your plot. Nice to see seasonal flowers too. I think that's talking about the video from earlier. Scott says outdoor tomatoes also did well. Actually, outdoor tomatoes did do very well. My Super Mimico, I can never pronounce that word, but the Super Mimico, the beefsteak tomatoes, they were quite dwarfing plants, but they did really well at producing lots of lovely tomatoes. And we used those for experiments in different composts and in the autopot system, all of which I did really, really well with. Digwell, summary video being edited as we speak, but ammonium sulfate 21.0.0 or urea 42.00 at half the dosage. Was that what it said on the bottle when you bought it? Ammonium sulfate. That's what I'm looking for. And is it organic? My next question. Urea, of course. Excuse me. Sorry. That's those mince pies. Urea, of course, very organic. Stuart says, I was very successful in growing weeds, plus I had a really good year for tomatoes. A lot of people are saying it's been a good year for tomatoes. I find that quite surprising because looking back, we actually had a good year for tomatoes, but tomatoes are usually associated with being a sunny crop. But, we seem to do okay out of them from what you guys are saying tonight. Digwell says, giving up with fancy aubergines. Nothing ever beats Black Beauty for me. I'm with you on that. Although I do like early long purple as well. My parsnips did okay, but there was a lot of canker on them, so I have ordered some shorter ones as my ground is quite stony. Funny enough, we harvested parsnips for our Christmas dinner, and some of them did have a little bit of canker. I'm not going to lie, it was a bit of canker, but actually, we didn't do too badly with parsnips. Because I used your tip as well. I think it was Digwell and Scott who said to parboil the parsnips before roasting them. What a difference! What a difference! Absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for that little tip. Definitely going to be doing that in the future. Anna Jones, I had a good year for outdoor tomatoes, but they took a very long time to ripen. A lot didn't. Interesting again. Once again, very, very interesting. Stuart, I also had a really good crop of chilies, very hot ones. Fantastic, fantastic. I'm actually, as I said, I'm sowing lots of chilies this year. I really want to do or get lots and lots of chilies in the ground, in the garden this year. Trying in some ways to sort of start up my plant nursery that I want to start. And hopefully we can really, really produce lots of chilies, lots of aubergines and things like that. Digwell says straw bale garden can work with organic fertilizers, but they would take 3 to 4 times as long to condition. The nitrogen is way too low to kickstart them, especially kickstart the breakdown, especially in the UK. Yeah, so I'm guessing urea. I mean, where did you get urea? Where did you get those bits from to start them off? Scott, after advice on here, I grew crimson type tomatoes outdoors. Definitely growing again. I'm with you on that. The blight resistant tomatoes are usually the crimson ones, and they do make life so much easier when it comes to growing tomatoes with the blight that we suffer a lot of in the UK. And I I would grow indoor tomatoes in the greenhouse, of course, but outdoor it has to be the blight resistant ones. Andrew Norris has joined. Evening, one and all. Hey there, Richard. Good evening, Andrew. Hope you are well. Hope you had a lovely Christmas as well, and hope things are good in Croatia. Is Croatia? Mine's gone blank for a second. Yes, I freeze my parsnips, then parboil them. Seem to be much better, says Turbo Stream. Hello, Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Nicola, I'm hoping for a dry year though, as this last year was dreadful in Cornwall. It is. It'll be what it'll be. We just have to make the most of what we deal with it. And Stuart says, please don't forget to follow. Yeah, please do give us a like. Please do give us a follow. Don't forget to click the notifications so that you know when we go live. But please do smash that like button. It really gets the algorithms working for us as well. I did manage one small sweet pepper, so that's a win in my book. That's good. That's good. I bet you it was the most best tasting sweet pepper you've ever eaten as well. Rob says, I know a lot of folk don't like them, but my best tomatoes was Crimson Crush outside. I like them. I actually do like Crimson Crush. I wouldn't describe them as the best flavouring, but they've got the more chance of getting tomatoes from without blight. We did get blight actually very late on, if I remember correctly. Any garden centre sells ammonia sulfate or urea, but I brought mine in bulk from Alexia. Already have 25 kilogram bag of 20 urea for 2025. Fantastic. Yes, Richard, snowy Croatia in the village, but in the town for now. He's getting out and about now, old Andrew, visiting the place. Yeah, those tomatoes, just those Super Mimico or whatever they were called, they were delicious. They were nice beefsteak tomatoes. Rob just said they were great in the Crimson Crush. They go great in cheese and tomato sandwich. The Super Mimico did as well because they were beefsteak, but the plant was a dwarfing plant, so they only really got that sort of size. And I really, really liked them. However, Digwell, of course, does point out use JBA Blight Guard and you get no blight. Is that a spray that you spray on several times throughout the growing season? I mean, blight wasn't. I'm surprised actually when it comes to blight how little of a problem it was. It did come along quite late, and I was expecting it to be a bit earlier with how wet it was. We seemed to get away with it, but 2025 could be different. I found Crimson Blush was the best tasting, but agree, not as flavourable as indoors. So it's interesting. I usually find that outdoor tomatoes taste better than indoor tomatoes if they're off the same variety. But it's just the blight, which we get blight here every year, as I'm sure many of you do as well. It's a massive problem. And just going for blight-resistant varieties just keeps it simple and keeps it natural in my eyes. Nicholas says, I got some nice sweet peppers and 2 chilies indoors. They're still on the plant in my top bedroom. Plants, I think, may have died as no heat in it upstairs or anywhere. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. We did not get any blight at all. You were lucky, very lucky then. And Dickwell says, I like a cheese and tomato sandwich without the cheese. So just a tomato sandwich. How about a tomato ketchup sandwich? I've not had one of those for a long time. I'm going to have one of those for now. I'm going to have one of those now. Toby Stream says, the pepper tasted awful. Oh, that's a shame. That is a shame. I thought it was going to be the best tasting sweet pepper you've ever had. Our favourite tomatoes are the Nagina. I had to double look at that to make sure it wasn't a word that I could use. A blight-resistant plum tomato. Lovely, lovely. It's interesting. We might have to talk about tomatoes varieties one week. I spray weekly in 2 days before a blight warning. Again, after really heavy rain, but not really needed. Okay. I do like tomatoes with lots of pepper on it, says Rob. Yeah, interesting. Okay, I have actually been sent in another video from Digwell. Digwell's been out with his drone and he's shot us a lovely little video. Let's go to that quickly.
Well, all right, guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. A quick aerial shot of the 39 plots on my allotment site. My plots are the one by the black car and the yellow arrow a bit later on. And if you want to laugh, stay tuned till the end and you will see my very poor reversing skills. Don't worry, no damage was done.
Another fantastic video. Thank you so much, Digwell. While I was watching this, I've actually decided, because I do want to encourage you guys to send more videos in of your own allotment, your own garden, even something to promote your own channel, as long as it's related to what we discuss about. And I thought what we could call you is veg grower reporters. So if you want to be a veg grower reporter, grab your phone, grab your camera, go make a video and send it to us. The best way to send it to us is through we transfer. My email address is richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk, but reach out anytime if you want any help. Don't have to talk on it if you don't want to. Music can be a little bit tricky, but we can worry about that as and when. But yeah, we'd love to see some more videos from your allotments, your gardens, or even any gardens that you go visit or shows that you go visit as well. So please do. Nicholas says, I didn't get blight as no tomatoes grown last year. I did have some late self-sown, but no fruit. Yeah. Digwell says, I took cucumber and Branston pickle sandwiches to our family get-together. Daughter said, no one will eat these. Guess who was the first thing that ran out on the table? Saturday before Christmas, I went to a party. And one of the things that was sandwiches that were brought out was roasted Mediterranean vegetables. It was very interesting, to say the least, but they did get eaten. Very interesting. Rob says, nice plot, Steve. Nice allotment site, says Scott. Nice landing, says Rob. Anna says, great video. Andrew says, great views from your drone. Oh, Digwell got vertigo now, especially after that crash, says Turbo Strip. Scott says, Mayday, Mayday, coming in hot. Good job. It didn't get stuck. Nice plot, slow. Digwell says, I was so lucky it did not get stuck in a tree. I would have been different in summer. So I've actually got a drone, and I've flown them a few times. I've had a few drones over the years, but some of the older ones I've had, they've got caught in the wind. So the newer ones are a little bit better. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. I actually get scared if I take them up too high. I actually find myself, I'm scared of heights, but I get scared of taking them up too high for some weird reason. But yeah, great stuff. Great stuff. Do love a good drone shot. David String, pickle in a sunny. Yum, yum, yum. And Rob says, cheese and Branston pickle. Yummy. Fantastic. Fantastic. Great, great, great stuff. So let's change the subject slightly for this last half hour. As you know, I've got no cooking this week and I've got no mission, but I do want you guys to set both of those for me for next week. A good mission, a good challenge I can do over the next week and make a video to show you, and a recipe that I can cook up and see how it turns out next week. Gary's joined. Sorry I'm late. Forgot it was Sunday. It is that weird bit between Christmas and New Year where you lose what day it is. But what I wanted to talk about actually is Christmas presents, gardeners' Christmas presents. Did you get any Christmas presents that are related to gardening? I had a few. You may have seen one because it's been here this whole time. The battery's actually gone flat on it. It's been on for so long. A pineapple light. I'm loving this, absolutely loving this, but I think we're going to have to put that into the USB power. You know how much I love lights. You probably tell in this room we've got the blue, green lights behind me. I love lights. So that was really, really something that was quite appreciated. Nicholas says there was a nice space between plot sites on fairly level compared with a lot of other sites I've seen. They're all different. They're all different. Rob says none. He got no gardening Christmas presents. I've got a few I'm going to share with you. £11 per annum for an operator ID to fly a drone now. Money making so-and-sos, especially as the test for it is so easy. There's hardly anything there, isn't it? It's like there's just nothing. It's like multiple choice, and if you get it wrong, I'll try again. Oh yeah. Gary says presents. The Charles Dowding Diary. I've got that. It's a good book. Seed spacing ruler. Ah, interesting. Nicholas says I got some seeds, wildflowers, and I brought myself another pair of neoprene wellies from Aldi. Scott says, I got some solar powered lights for the shed and a fountain for the new pond. Fantastic, fantastic. So, as I said, that pineapple, that light up pineapple, which is now going in the studio. Some of you may have seen these if you've been on the group on the Facebook page. I got these. These are brilliant. I love these. They're teaspoons. Perfect for gardening, or making a nice cup of tea. We spoke about having not enough coffee on the plot. Making a cup of tea with these teaspoons shaped like shovels and spades. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Love these. These are one of my favorite presents, which I probably shouldn't say, but as soon as I opened these, I was in love. One thing I also got given that I haven't brought to show you because it's too big is I've got my wife very, very kindly got me the Autopot 4 to go. Basically, it's the 4 larger pot systems, so they're going to go in my greenhouse, and absolutely brilliant with that. Really pleased with it. As you know, I've been trialing the Autopot throughout 2024, and I'm looking forward to really expand on that in 2025. Rebecca, I got some more seed trays and a nice gardening calendar. Fantastic, fantastic. Rob says, if I want anything for the garden, I buy it myself to make sure it's the right thing. I kind of get what you're saying like that. I totally get, because I've said something similar about, I think I said about that box of seeds I got a few years ago. I can buy the seeds. And Gary actually kind of agrees. Lucy was saying the same thing on her podcast, Lucy Chamberlain. So I've got a funny story talking of Lucy. So there I was it was yesterday actually, when I saw my brother-in-law. He gave me a present and I opened it. And as I was opening it, all I saw was the author's name at first, Lucy Chamberlain. I had a bit of a heart attack. And I'll explain why in a second, but I continued to open it, and it was Step by Step Veg Patch, which is a book I haven't got, which I'm really grateful for, because I've got a lot of time for Lucy. She's one of a very good friend of mine, actually. And she's such a good friend. And I've mentioned this on the podcast before. She actually sent me a copy of her book, Grow Food Anywhere, which is out on the 2nd of January. And she actually sent me this before Christmas. I've been reading it over the last few days. Really, really good book. But now I've actually got Veg Patch, Grow Food Anywhere. I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with those books from Lucy, to say the least. Fantastic Christmas presents. I got a Hori knife, a cookbook mentioned on the show, a cell temper, and a few little knickknacks. Which cookbook was that? But you're going to love the Hori knife, one of my most favorite tools. The only thing is, keep it clean, keep it rust free, keep it oiled. Really look after it, but it is a fantastic tool. Digwell says, not gardening stuff for Christmas for me. Loads of cooking stuff, though. Absolutely right there. Andrew says, yeah, I rather like those teaspoons too. I was so pleased with them. I've gone around looking for more because I just think these are so on brand. These are so. I was drinking a nice cuppa tonight, and I was thinking I should really use those at the same time. Over on Instagram, Ben Plot 27B Bristol has joined. Welcome along, my friend. Hope you are well. I love my Hori knife, says Gary. I use it every time. It's one of the best things, or best gardening tools that I've ever used. Then Digger says, that's why I asked for cooking stuff, and even then I sent a few ideas. Yeah, I get the right thing. Gary says you need to get them autographed. Actually, did she autograph? She hasn't. I will get them autographed when I see her. Might see her in February, actually. I'll have to get her to autograph. I've got so many books that I need to get the people to autograph when I see them. I just too much to carry around half the time. Rebecca says, love the teaspoons. I'll be tempted to use one for pricking out seedlings. That's not a bad idea, actually, especially the shovel. That's not a bad idea at all. You're giving me ideas. I did get a book on how to edit with Final Cut Pro, 800 pages. Interesting. Final Cut Pro, is that on Mac, isn't it? I could use those teaspoons on my indoor veggie pod kitchen garden. Yeah, there's so many uses, isn't there? Looking at it. Nicola, what's the best make of hori knife? Niwaki. Niwaki has got to be the best, in my opinion. Could you get another copy for a VGP giveaway? I'm planning on doing that, actually. I am planning on doing that because I think that would be a lot of fun throughout January. I'm going to do that, actually. Yes, on Mac, says Rob. Fantastic. I got slate plant labels for Christmas. Great gift. They should last forever. Yeah, slate. I mean, what I would advise when it comes to slate is you could use chalk, but chalk does have a tendency to get washed off when it rains. But there is chalk pens. They still, you can still wash the chalk pen marks off, but they don't get wiped off or washed off when it rains. So my advice there, after using slate in the past, chalk pens. Chili Cake says, the Allotment Gardener's Cookbook. I also got an allotment cross-stitch kit. Ah, fantastic. I think, yeah, I have got that book. I remember, I'm sure I have. But the cross-stitch kit, I'd love to see what you come up with that as well. I've got those spoons for my sister and I absolutely love them. Brilliant, aren't they? These are so on brand. This is, and what's funny is the person that gave them to me, I've only met a couple of times. She was like a friend of my wife's auntie who was coming around. She didn't really know anything about me or what to get me. So she came up with those and I was like, you know me from just meeting me twice. So perfect. Rebecca, also, would it be nice to have one engraved? Oh, I don't know if it's going to be strong enough to take an engraving, but we might look into that. I have got an engraving kit actually, so I could engrave them myself. Not easy to do engraving. Rob says, I do need to learn how to edit. Editing's easy. It's knowing the programs, I would say. Digwell says, I found Dory, Chory, Corey, Hornori, Hori to be good. Who's? I hope you're joking with that. But 800 pages is a bit much. It's not, trust me. Just, I'm not saying I'm the best editor in the world, but do it bit by bit. Learn to do one thing, then move on to the next. And that's how I've found with editing. I could do so much more with editing if I put the time in, actually. Kate says, I got a let pot hydroponic system and love it. And you got it up by Christmas night, didn't you? Up and running. Hydroponics are very, very popular at the moment, aren't they? And a lot of people are enjoying, or a lot of people are moving more and more into the hydroponics. I've actually got my hydroponics right here. I've had this in the kitchen, growing basil in it for a lot as well since April, May, sorry. But I'm moving this up here. I've just got to find the right place for it. We do like growing basil in it. I want to grow something different in hydroponics, so that's going to be a subject we're going to have to talk about in the future as well. What can we grow in hydroponics, or is that something we've done before? Don't know. Movavi for me, says Digwell, talking about editing suites. I use Magic's Movie Edit Pro 2022 version. I need to update it at some point. What have we got? Rob says wacky backy. I don't know what that's about. Andrew says, before you start editing, please read the manual. Get acquainted with the terminology so it doesn't seem too taunting. Agree. Yeah. It's easy. I mean, what I same as anything, I recommend you start with the easy stuff and work your way up. Build your confidence as you go when it comes to editing. Watercress works well in hydroponics. You know what? I think we're going to have to talk about hydroponics next week. What do you guys say on that? Do you want to talk about hydroponics and what we could grow in hydroponics that would be successful? I don't know much about hydroponics. Would it work for water chestnuts, says Gary? I'm going to say I don't think it would work for water chestnuts. Water chestnuts would probably grow in a pond or something like that. Hydroponics is more about growing crops, I guess. You can grow tomatoes or anything like that. I think this is something we're going to discuss next week because it seems the right time to talk about it. Digwell says, I just edit enough to make a video viewable. No fancy bells and whistles, as they are not really needed for Lego cooking gardening. No colour LUTs, etc., etc. I sort of disagree with the colour. There's always room for a little bit of, not so much LUTs, just a bit of colour. I can't think what it's called. Adjusting exposure and things like that, just to make the colours look more natural. That's what I would say. Fancy bells and whistles. It depends what you mean by fancy bells and whistles. I personally, I know we're going completely off topic, and people who don't edit videos are probably not going to like this. I don't like transitions that spin or do anything like that. I just like transitions that fade in, fade out, or they just seem like part of the same video. Depends what you mean on bells and whistles. Kate says, on my last hydroponics, I started many of my veg and they were so strong when planted out. See, I think hydroponics is going to be what we're going to discuss next week. I've made that decision because I think it's something we could really sink our teeth into. Over on Instagram, Etchrumork, I don't know how to pronounce that, has joined. Welcome along. Hope you are well. Digwell says, water chestnuts need to float in a pond, really. Yeah. Nicholas says, what's a good camera for documenting YouTube, your plots? P.S. I do have an Apple phone. You've got it then. Use your Apple iPhone. The cameras on these are pretty damn good. If you've already got it, you've probably got it in your hand all the time. Just had a notification come through. I personally don't use this for my videos, but I did when I started. You've got it. Start it off right now. Now, Etchrimac over on Instagram has just said water chestnuts struggle with algae in hydroponics. There we go. So, yeah, I did not know that. And this is one of the great things. When you ask a question, we can come back with an answer from somebody in the audience. Just about any smartphone with a decent camera will do. Nicola, thanks, Rob. I'm getting my new 16 Pro Max as my 12 is misbehaving. There you go. You've got it. You've got it there. Ready to go. Gary says, thanks all, no problem. If you Nicola, if you ever do want a bit of a, again, I'm not saying I'm the best videographer, but I've had a bit of training with videography. If you ever do want a bit of pointers, please do feel free to reach out. I'm sure Digwell will be happy to help as well, or anybody else who creates videos for that matter. Right, we have got about just over 15 minutes left to go tonight. Excuse me. I think we've decided we're going to be talking about hydroponics next week because I think that's going to be a really, really good subject. I really should be taking notes so that I know what we're going to do next. The tomato one was another subject we might do in the future. But what I really need from you guys is a mission, a challenge that I can do over this next week. I've got a bit of time off this week as well. I'm not back to work till Thursday, so I've got plenty of time to do these sort of things as well. Yeah, no worries, Nicola. I'm happy if you are ever around. We'll sort something out. I could really do a good challenge, a good mission, and also something that I can cook over the next week and make a video and try on the chat on the live stream. Digwell says, a 1 million sub YouTuber was asked what to use. He replied, 5 years ago I said this and that camera software, etc. Now I say any phone is a software and mic camera are built in and better than ever. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, the iPhone, I mean, I don't use it because I can't get on with it. I personally, I use, I've got about 3 different cameras that I use, to be honest. I stick with Sony's. I use those, but that's because I got a better idea of what to do in different mics. These are good enough. These are, I mean, the audio on these is pretty exceptional, actually. I know people that actually record podcasts just using the iPhone microphone. Perfectly good enough. Another thing I would say, audio. Audio is just as important as your video. It's 50% of your video. Half of your video is audio. So audio is important. If it's windy, think about how you can block that wind and things like that. Just to add a little bit of annoyance I have when it comes to it, because I hate bad audio. Absolutely hate bad audio. In fact, bad audio can ruin a video. I know this is completely off topic, but we'll go with it anyway. Rob says, I use an app called Video Cam. You can record, then press pause. So what you need to do is then press play and it continues to record. Yep. I mean, I see that as just record, stop, but that's how I know the editing process. I don't see that as being much different from what you would do anyway, but it's just explained a little bit better. However, leftover sprouts, Richard, and Andy Jones says, bubble and squeak. I can do bubble and squeak. I can do bubble and squeak. Do a leftover meal from Xmas dinner. You got to remember, I'm going to be eating this next Sunday, but I can do a bubble and squeak. I could cook that tomorrow, put it in the freezer, and then heat it up for next Sunday. Yeah, we're going to do that. Vasilapetia cake. I have no idea what that is, but bubble and squeak is what it is. Jenny's come up with a mission. Can you make a homemade hydroponic setup? We did that a few weeks ago, actually, beginning of December, if I remember correctly, using some of this, I don't know if you can see it, lava light stuff. So we've done that mission. We've done that. We need a different one, really. Rob says we've not got any leftovers now. I've had 4 Christmas days. I've got loads. I've got to say though, my cooking this week has been bang on. Turkey, not dry at all, absolutely beautifully cooked. Looked delicious as I was cooking it. Looked delicious when it came out of the oven. Crumbled when I carved into it. Absolutely fantastic. Then today, gammon and lamb again. Gammon's slightly different, but honey and mustard glaze on the gammon. The lamb, I just carved into that shoulder of lamb and it fell apart beautifully. I'm like, yes, this is how we could do Christmas. Banging up my own cooking, but boy, was it worth it. Absolutely worth it. Yeah. I'm not surprised because I spent a lot of money on that turkey. Chili says, we've not had our turkey yet. New Year's Day plan. Crikey, what did you do on Christmas Day? Digwell says, my turkey was not dry either. I had chicken. I was so pleased with I very rare. I mean, I've been cooking turkey for quite a few years now. And I've sort of got it worked out. But I did slightly change the way I cook it this year. And one of those things I'm always worried about is dry turkey. I got it bang on. I mean, the amount of bacon I put over the breast when it was cooking, all that bacon fat dripped into it, and it was no way it was going dry. No way it was going dry. Jenny says over on Instagram, did we? Sorry, brain has gone to mush this week. Yeah, we did a few weeks ago now, maybe November. So just need another mission. Nicholas says, I've done no cooking. It's microwave oven, tripping the fuse box. Something else I need to get sorted or replaced. Need a hob in the kitchen is not one of those either. Get a nice little camping stove, Nicola. You'd be surprised how much you can cook on one of those. On my advice. Chili Cake says, I didn't want to say before, but we went to Centre Parks for my mum's 70th. Lovely. Christmas Day was in the pool and we ate steak. Ah, I fancy steak now. Oh, I haven't had steak in a few weeks. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. No leftovers here neither. The can of soup was just the right amount for my Christmas. Turbo Stream, of course, living on his own, so only had himself to worry about. Digwell says, cook the turkey upside down. It never goes dry as the juices run down. I have heard that. I've never done that, though. I've never done it. I just, I put butter under the skin on the breast, and then I put a load of streaky bacon over the breast as well. I cook it like that. It's absolutely wonderful. Gary says, can I ask a quick question about autumn sown broad beans? Mine were grown in a greenhouse, a bit leggy, but I planted them out today. When have you planted yours? Also, why were some of the leaves black? So I sown my autumn beans, I think it was October, November time. Started them off in a greenhouse in order to get them started. And then I haven't planted them out yet. I haven't planted them out just yet. So why have some of the leaves turned black? It could just be they've got a bit of frost, get a bit cold, and that could be what they've just nicked themselves like that. It could also just be sometimes I think the seed leaves, the first two leaves from when it grows, they can go black when they get old. It could be that. Send us a photo that might help and see. So Jenny has come up with a mission. If everybody likes this mission, plan next year's alternative veg categories, rules, etc. Any seeds sent out, especially for it, etc., such as the sunflower challenge, plan certificates. Basically, plan the alternative veg grower show for October. That's going to be the mission for next week. We will figure that out. Excellent stuff. Digwell says, did the steak taste of chlorine? Yeah. June always pops bacon over our chicken. Margaret, was that Abersham lamb you had? It was, yeah. We had that Abersham lamb today. It was beautiful, Margaret. Thank you so much for that. We had Jenny, Martin, my mum, Neil, Max and Leah. They were around today. It was beautiful. I don't know if we're going to get any more from them anymore, actually, because we need to meet up with you, my dad, soon. But yeah, lovely, delicious lamb. Black leaves, cold damage. Yeah, that's what I thought. Although I'm thinking sometimes the seed leaves also go black as well. The steak was meant to be barbecued, but the manfolk chickened out. Oh, yeah. Oh, I've got to get the barbecue going again soon. Thanks. I thought it was frost damage, but we haven't really got that cold. I will send a photo to Facebook. Thanks, you. Yeah, send it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be frost damage or cold damage. Digra says that's a good idea, Jenny. So we're going to get that worked out. Turbo Stream, I sowed Aqua Dolce broad bean in November direct. They're still alive so far, but I don't have much hope they will make it. They'll be fine. Chili Cake says the mission sounds perfect. And Turbo Stream, in Birmingham, I direct sow broad bean in mid-March. Never had a failure yet. Yep. I only grow, when it comes to broad beans, I only grow overwintered broad beans because over on Instagram, Kentish Gardener has joined and says, evening all, good evening to you. Yeah, I only grow overwintered broad beans. I don't bother with spring sown ones because it's only me that really eats them. We get enough with the autumn sown ones and we don't get black fly or get very little black fly. So yeah, that's why we do overwintered as opposed to spring ones. But again, as we said earlier, different things for different people. What works for you may not work for everybody else. Digwa says, I cannot eat lamb. Childhood memories of my uncle being a slaughterman. I love lamb. It's one of my favourite meats, and it was absolutely delicious. I mean, I love it. What I do with my lamb, I get into cooking a bit here. I chop up I chop into slices garlic, get some bits of rosemary, and I just pierce it through into the lamb with all these little bits of garlic and rosemary, covering a bit of olive oil, pepper, and salt, and then roast it like that. It is to die for. And it's even better if I cook it on my barbecue in the smoker, because you get that smoked flavour into it as well. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. Autumn broad beans, too few in a pod to grow for me. Yeah, fair enough. And Gary says, I agree, Richard. Use a space when it's not needed. In the spring, less space to play with. Yeah, I agree, Gary. That's why I do it. It's good, I think, over winter to see the garden doing something as well. Mark, we haven't seen you since before Christmas. We haven't, no. We do. I know you were really, really busy, like ourselves. So we'll try and meet up. Although Digger does say he's on the TV now, so yeah. I'm growing Grano Violeta broad beans from Premier Seeds over an overwintering type. They were a good one, actually. I've grown those before. They're a very good one, and I liked the purple colour of those, although the purple doesn't last when you cook it, I found. Over on Instagram, Jenny and the Kentish Gardener are having a talk about this as well. And the Kentish Gardener says, never grown broad beans. I might give them a go. Jenny says, go for it. Unfortunately, I can't bring Instagram comments up on the screen like I can with YouTube and Facebook. Turbo Stream says, nearly at the year end, so it's a good time to say Happy New Year, and I hope 2025 is the best grow year for everyone. I think what we're going to do, we've had a really good discussion actually on what we've learned over 2024. And I think going into 2025, what I love about this is a community. We meet up here every Sunday night and we talk about grow your own, particularly, and gardening. And I think we need to really build on that. In 2025, I really want the community to come together. Obviously, I know I have to do a lot to bring the community together. I am the figurehead. We're going to have to try and get more of the YouTube community, because I know not everybody is on Facebook. We, of course, have the Facebook page. I'm going to get the forums back up and running on the website, but then we've just got to watch out for spam. But I really want this community, again, every Sunday when we meet up, sharing your tips, sharing what you're doing in your allotment, in your garden, being veg grower reporters and things like that, to try and help everybody, encourage everybody out as well. Just come together as a great community. We've done that a lot throughout 2024. So as we wrap up, we've got just under a couple of minutes to go. As we wrap up, I do want to thank everybody for watching along over this last year. I'm always amazed that you guys, every Sunday at 6, you seem to come along and join on this and just watch me rabbiting on, reading off your comments and things like that. It's been really, really good. I want to thank you all for really being supporting me and supporting each other throughout the year. Jenny has said Barnsdale meetup. That might be something. We do want to do some more meetups throughout the year as well. I know, again, it's easier said than done, but more and more meetups, more and more community, things like that. So be prepared for a lot more content from me, but remember, I'm trying to build and work on the community and bring us all that little bit closer together as well. Right, it is it 7:30? It pretty much is. Everybody, Gary says, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for all the advice throughout 2024. Look forward to the best year in 2025. Nicholas says, Happy New Year. I hope I actually get my veg garden going again after a crap last year. And this is what I'm saying. This is why I want us community 2025 to continue what we've done throughout 2024, being supportive, being here for everyone. Let's carry that on into 2025. Right, guys, it is 7:30. We will be back again next week. We're going to talk about hydroponic gardening. If you've got any videos you want to send in, you know what to do. We're also going to be making some bubble and squeak, and we're going to be getting together the plan for the alternative veg grower show. Right, guys, you take care. Speak to you again next Sunday. Have a great new year, whatever you're doing. Please do share lots of photos. We'd love to see them. Lots of videos as well. We love to see them. Right, guys, take care. Speak to you again next time.